This is Story Recapped. Today, I'm going to explain a mystery, drama, sci-fi film called Other Life. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Ren is at a beach with her brother, Jared, where she invites him to return to the water for another dive. The siblings go in, exploring underwater reefs and taking their time to look around. Suddenly, Ren wakes up with black liquid oozing out of her eye. Several empty vials of the black ooze are on the floor. Ren had relived the day when Jared drowned. Jared has since been in a coma, and Ren has founded Other Life, a company dedicated to developing biological software in the form of a black liquid that, when applied to a person's eye, causes them to enter a dreamlike state where they can experience simulated memories. Ren hopes to provide people with new and exciting experiences within the safety and confines of their heads. She also hopes that this technology could hold the key to awakening Jared. She visits Jared at the hospital and applies the substance to Jared's eye. She then hooks up sensors to his head to see if the substance would affect Jared's brain activity. She anxiously waits, but nothing happens. Ren arrives at Other Life where her colleague, Byron, reminds her about things that need her approval. As their lunch date creeps closer, the company is pressured to perfect the technology. Ren then spends time exploring different simulated memories at work while Byron records her neural synapses. The following experience she'll be testing out is snowboarding atop a snowy peak. Ren explores the experience, snowboarding down a slope while looking down at the environment. Meanwhile, Byron monitors everything to make sure that the technology works correctly. Behind him, the monitor shows the amount of time Ren is experiencing consciously in her head. While snowboarding, Ren suddenly finds herself back where she started. She decides to go through the experience again, but everything around her glitches and begins collapsing. She tries to get herself out, convincing herself that what she's experiencing isn't real. She wakes up in the real world, and Byron is relieved. Byron sees that Ren has experienced 6 days inside her head, while only a few minutes have passed in the real world. He then suggests scrapping the snowboarding experience, as the malfunction could be more serious. Ren disagrees, arguing that the problem is with the programming, thinking they could have overseen a bug. Ren then heads to a board meeting where the company's co-founder, Sam, explains Other Life's products to investors. He argues that people are getting busier every day, barely having enough time for recreation. Other Life is going to change everything, as this would allow people to have full experiences within minutes, snowboarding the Alps while on the way to work, free diving in the ocean during lunch, and even cruising the Caribbean before going to bed. All these would be possible with Afterlife. He states that these are only the beginning, and the company would later venture into long-term interactive simulations. The technology could be a game changer in training, rehabilitation, therapies, and adding years of experience in seconds. After the presentation, Ren tells Sam that they need more servers, testers, and more time to perfect the software. Sam tells her the investors are becoming impatient with only a week left before they launch. Investors were asking for samples, but they couldn't provide any, so he pitched in the ideas of long-term use and interactivity. Ren says that's not what the product is for, and wonders what Sam was alluding to back when he said that. Sam tells her not to mind, as he's only keeping that in the back of his mind as a potential route to take when their funding gets cut off. Ren leaves and finds Danny waiting for her. Danny also works at Other Life and is dating Ren. Ren apologizes as she had forgotten about their date, but Danny says it's okay and invites her over for a meal. However, Ren declines as she has to continue working. Back at the office, Ren is with Byron when she finds the bug in their code. Byron is astounded and congratulates Ren. They then 3D print the new substance with the fixed code, and Ren tests it out. She goes snowboarding again, this time satisfied to see that the experience works correctly. Byron takes note and sees that Ren spent a total of 20 days inside simulated experiences on that day alone. Danny arrives and hands her a report on the prolonged usage that Sam had ordered. This concerns Ren, but Byron gets excited, saying the bug Ren fixed could be helpful for programming longer experiences. Danny invites Ren for a drink, but Ren refuses again to continue working. Danny then leaves with Byron, while Ren prints out a new experience. She tests it out, but instead of a simulation, it's a memory of her and Jared diving. She's been working in secret to develop a way to awaken her brother. Ren then visits Jared and puts him under an experience again. This time, Jared responds to the stimuli and his eye twitches. A nurse arrives and Ren tells him that Jared's eye twitched. The nurse dismisses this, saying he too sometimes gets fooled. Ren later gets a message from her father regarding unplugging Jared's life support. She then meets up with him. Ren's father is an expert in neuroscience, but doesn't support Other Life as he thinks it could bring more harm than good. Addiction is his primary concern, as most illegal drugs started as a substance aimed to help. She tells him about her progress with Jared. He asks if she still has the glitch problem, but she assures him that she has fixed the code. Her father argues that PTSD, addiction, and depression are also broken codes in the human brain. The two argue about Ren clinging to hope and believing they could bring Jared back. Her father thinks it's a fruitless endeavor, and they should lay Jared to rest. Ren arrives back at work and learns that Byron and Sam had discovered her secretly developing memories for Jared. Sam is angry at her for wasting time and resources. He then reveals the idea he's been keeping in the back of his head. Other life's long-term experiences can also be used in correctional facilities. The government is willing to work with them if they develop a way to create a prison experience. Those sentenced to prison could live out their whole sentence and get rehabilitated in a few minutes. Ren rejects his proposal, saying Other Life was created to expand minds, not imprison them. Sam then argues that if they cannot innovate that far, then it should only be fair that she can't do projects behind their back. Ren then leaves and meets Danny. They head back to her place, where they share intimacy. Ren decides to let Danny try an experience. Danny ends up snowboarding down snowy slopes and awakens moments later. He's amazed, saying it feels real. Ren gets distracted by a message from Sam, and she doesn't notice Danny trying out another experience. Unfortunately, he unknowingly uses the memory of Jared drowning. Danny starts seizuring, and Ren tries to snap him out of the experience, but Danny is too far gone. She calls an ambulance, but it may be too late. Later, she's at a police station talking to Sam and the company lawyer. Sam speaks to her privately, asking what Danny had taken as he suspects it could be a different substance. Ren refuses to tell him the truth. Several people then meet with Ren, including a representative from the Department of Corrections. The lawyer lays out that Ren would be charged with unauthorized human testing and malpractice, which means she'd be facing up to 15 years in prison. The other option is for Ren to volunteer as the first subject for prolonged simulated memory by being placed in 1 year virtual confinement. Sam tries to convince her to agree, saying it would only be a minute in the real world. If she agrees, the charges will be dropped and the whole ordeal gets swept under the rug. If she chooses the first option, the company will fall, and everything they've worked on would be all for nothing. With Danny's death, Ren knows she has no choice but to agree to the second option. She's sent to a room where Byron awaits. She's placed on a chair and reminds Byron of the failsafe to get her out in an instant if something goes wrong. Wasting no time, Byron prepares to apply the liquid onto Ren. As the liquid drops, Ren is transported to a dark cell with only the number of days visible. Ren spends her time in confinement, inspecting the simulation and taking notes on what they could do to improve it. With each passing day, Ren grows more restless. She gets visions and flashbacks of the day that Jared drowned. She decides the best way to spend her time in confinement would be to continue studying how to awaken Jared. She sifts through her memories, naming several cases where brain-dead individuals made miraculous recoveries. She surmises that she only needs to rewrite Jared's memories of the day he drowned, replacing it with an instance where he didn't drown, and this would hopefully be enough to restart Jared's brain function. It's day 365 in confinement, and Ren prepares to be brought back. Unfortunately, the day counter returns to 1. Ren's eyes are filled with horror as she realizes she's trapped in her mind. She trashes the cell before laying down in defeat. She sits up and suddenly feels a breeze coming from a vent. She pushes the vent open and finds herself inside a warehouse. She looks around in utter disbelief. She finds a control room where someone has been keeping an eye on her. A person arrives, and Ren runs outside, taking a vehicle and driving away. She walks around town and sees an Other Life billboard. She goes back to the office location and finds it empty. She then goes to the police and tries explaining everything, but the police find her records indicating that she's been in Italy. She decides to take them back to the warehouse where she's been kept, but it's now empty. She goes to her apartment building, but her stuff was disposed of, and a new tenant now lives in her apartment. Suddenly, Sam arrives. He tries to get her to come with him, saying he'll explain everything, but Ren runs. She hides from Sam and his henchmen, and finds her way to Cass, another colleague. Cass is shocked to find Ren, since they were told that Ren had opted out of the company and left the country. She explains that after Danny's death, she was offered a choice to be in virtual confinement. Upon hearing this, Cass realizes Ren is telling the truth. She then takes her to see Danny, who's still alive. Danny and Ren are reunited, and Danny narrates what he went through when he had the seizure. He says all he remembers is repeatedly drowning in the memory, but after he recovered, he found out that Ren had disappeared. He tried reaching out but figured that Ren wanted to be left alone. The company then pushed through with the software launch, and Other Life evolved to be used in education, the military, and other recreational facets such as pornography. Cass details that a senator wants to push for several life sentences to be carried out with Other Life's help. Danny then suggests that Ren lay low for a while. Once she's recovered, they'd go to the press and tell them everything that had happened to her. But Ren doesn't care about that and confesses that she only started Otherlife to wake Jared up. Her father primarily developed the technology, but refused funding from anyone. Ren then took it upon herself to develop the technology. All she wants to do now is to find that memory she printed of the day that Jared drowned. Cass and Danny decide to help, and they head to the Otherlife building. Cass says Sam had everything backed up on a secure server. They get to the server floor and find Byron. Danny subdues Byron while Ren goes through the files. She finds that it's not on the computer but on Byron's shelf. She finds a storage device containing the memory, and they leave. They get back to Cass but find her getting dragged away by Sam's men. They then escape and head to Ren's father's home to print the memory. Ren tweaks the memory's code before printing it. The next day, Ren's father arrives. After not knowing where his daughter has been, Ren's father puts aside their squabbles and hugs her tight. Later, Ren explains what she's been working on all this time. She had made an exact copy of Jared's drowning. The memory Danny took wasn't faulty at all, as Jared was supposed to drown. What she had changed was the ability to make a choice. She hoped that each time she administered the memory to Jared, he would remember the incident differently and choose not to drown, which she hoped would lead to him waking up. Ren then heads to the hospital to give the fluid to Jared. She applies the fluid to Jared, and inside Jared's head, he remains on the beach, and Ren joins him. In the real world, Jared's eyes open. Unfortunately, Jared starts convulsing before going into a seizure. Ren realizes that Jared could be under extreme suffering and duress under the experience, so she decides to be merciful and unplug Jared's life support. Inside Jared's head, he leaves Ren and goes into the water, allowing himself to drown. Moments later, Ren sits in the darkness, watching Jared's lifeless body when Sam emerges. He tells her that she may have been unsuccessful, but it's undeniable that a comatose patient had regained consciousness for a few seconds. Hearing that Sam once again only focuses on the profit, Ren feels a sinking feeling. She suddenly sees glimpses of Byron and Sam trying to wake her up. Ren then finds herself on the beach. She walks towards the water and allows herself to sink. She then awakens back in the office with Byron and Sam approximately 1 minute after administering the confinement experience. Byron and Sam are extremely relieved to see Ren awake, but Ren punches Sam. She then sees Byron's laptop recording everything that had happened to her inside, so she destroys it. Ren calms down after a while and realizes everything she'd lived through in the past year, from escaping the confinement and seeing Danny again to making peace with her father and Jared's death, was all in her head. What's more important is Sam doesn't know, and she wishes to keep it that way. She meets with Sam and tells him that she wants to leave the company. Sam expresses his disappointment, and Ren leaves. Ren then finally agrees with her father and allows Jared to rest. Later, she gets a call from Sam asking her to return to the company to look at something. There, they show the recordings of her brain activity while she was in confinement. For a large majority, it shows her under stress, but it shows her brain experiencing happiness for a short instant. Sham shares his theory that she had broken out of confinement and interacted with the world. He's ecstatic, as this revelation would change everything. Ren refuses to share more details and tells them it's too dangerous. She refuses to participate, and Sam gets angry, claiming that she owes him. Ren tries leaving, but Sam asks her to sit so they can talk about it. Sam then snatches a vial of the confinement experience. He tells her that they're about to change the world. He then pulls her head back and drops the fluid in her eye, forcing her back in. He then orders Byron to record her brain signals, and Byron reluctantly complies. In her head, Ren is distraught to see that she's back in confinement, but she calms down and tells herself she can get out. She wills herself to wake up the same way she willed herself to escape the glitch in the snowboarding experience. The recording fails, and the computer displays error messages. Sam is confused, but Ren gets up behind him and tackles him. She then applies the remaining fluid to his eye, and Sam enters confinement. Byron helps Ren prop Sam up, and they record his brain activity. Several months pass inside Sam's head as he lives through the confinement. Outside, Ren watches as Sam convulses. Byron tells her that they need to get Sam out, or else he might die. She decides to hold him for a few more seconds, before finally triggering the failsafe that awakens Sam. Sam finally awakens with horror in his eyes. Ren looks at him, knowing that he'd experienced a confinement in its entirety. Ren then leaves and meets with her father as they tidy up Jared's belongings. She then heads to a small pier on the beach where Jared had drowned. She looks out to the water, relieved that Jared is now at peace.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.